Okay. Hi, I'm Paul. Welcome back to another episode of Plasma-cast. I'm with here another Paul
The
Gan.
other Paul, yeah.
Okay, so Paul has his own indie outfit doing video editing and special effects. Also, he's directed quite a number of interesting personal projects, which we will get into, which also has won him a bit of acclaim. But as usual with the story of Plasma-cast, it's not just the story of his success, but the journey towards that creative success.
Yep.
Cool. So the first thing that I always do is, we start at the very beginning. Like, what were you always into film, and what was the first ideas or inspiration you'd be doing this?
Since young, when I was a kid, the reason today to be a filmmaker partially is because I always say this, I blame my dad. It's my dad's fault. Sorry for a bad sentence opening, but yeah, I think I give you a spoiler. It all started back then when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my dad would always bring me to movies and cinema to watch movies, and I remember sitting there in the crowd with my friends. With my friends, but with people who are in the same room. I remember that feeling, that excitement, that wow factor that I felt. And partially maybe that part of me was that I felt like, I want this I want people to feel the way how I feel when I was in cinema. So since then, I told myself I want to be an actor first. But then from then on, I move on to be behind the lenses more often rather than in front of the lens. So it was a childhood dream that I always knew that I wanted to do this.
Okay, yeah. So on the one hand, being at that age, you go like, hey, I want to be in front of the screen, the actor part.
Yeah.
And then it slowly evolved into, instead, you're probably having more fun behind the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were the first steps or first experiments or even first tryings in making this towards this idea?
Because you understand back then, right? We were not so blessed. We didn't have much access to technology. I was in Bukit Borong, and my parents were not so well-to-do. The only media that we saw was rather television or newspaper. Today we have social media, and we have cameras from a smartphone.
Yep.
We pretty much can do a lot of things already. Back then we didn't have that. So for me, it was a dream that I just didn't know how to navigate, but I knew there was a direct destination that I want to be in. So along the way, I did Form 5. I did science, surprisingly, and with art subjects. I was the only one who did geography for Form 5 in my school, and I scored B, but the whole school got 100% for passing mark because of me. That was quite funny. But then I did arts also, and I scored A, and I went to Form 6. I didn't do well in Form 6 because I felt like I lost my sense of purpose of trying to pursue science.
Right.
So that was what happened. But I knew Form 6 was just a stepping point or a stepping stone for me to be advanced into colleges to study media studies. So I went to Utah to study broadcasting, although it wasn't about film, but I felt it was at least an atmosphere or environment for me to really be exposed to what the media is, or at least the education. It has a security fence for me to explore more things. So I went to Utah from that on, and from then slowly find my way to write and direct my own short films.
Okay, so you did media studies in the US, Utah, US, right?
Utah, no. I wish.
Okay.
University Tunku Abdul Rahman.
Sorry. My mistake.
It's not Utah Park City or Salt Lake City.
One little letter makes the whole difference.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Utah, not Utah.
Okay.
Utah.
So doing media studies in that, what was the type of ideas, or what type were the things that you managed to basically find out or learn along the way?
Ideas in terms of making films, or
like you had the idea, I want to get into film. Okay, so what were the things that you picked up along the way in the formal education of media studies?
Truth be told, a lot of learning things about learning, two principles is that one, we never stop learning. The other one is we have to always self-initiate, because when I was in my uni also, I felt the education was not enough. So I went online to do Google search and how to do visual effects, how to be. You see, the funny thing was, back then you will grow in terms of your knowledge and in terms of the way how you see things. At first I always thought, like, you know, oh, if I want to be a good filmmaker, I need to understand visual effects, I need to, like, you know, when this exposure is great, but along the way as you learn, and I got slightly okay with it, I won't say good, but slightly okay with it, you just realize that at the end of it, it's always the matter of story. It's not the matter of the visual. So I was it's that journey of fine tuning. It's a journey of finding the right place and the right pace to be able to do what you like to do and what you're good at. Yeah.
So among many things, I was about, perhaps it's more storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay, the art of storytelling.
Yeah.
In your case, it's the visual form, the visual medium.
Yeah, visual. Yet also script writing is rather it's a wholesome, surprisingly for me, because without a good script, you don't have a thought or a philosophy to impart into the audience. So you start from there. So the visual comes later once you have a strong script.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, for my learnings and for the audience out there,
Yeah.
in terms of, let's say, a short film,
Yeah.
okay, what's the process? How does it start? Or beyond the idea, what's the next step?
That's a very good question, because again, we are still learning, but the fact that you see, in a perfect world, a lot of things are assigned according to their roles. All right, basically, how do we do? For a short film, we could have producers who will actually find the director that would be attached to the project, and producers will find the funding, and producers will find the right people for the project. You need line producers to manage the expenses, to manage whatever's on set, or production manager. And from then you will have a director of photography, we call it a DOP. It's a cameraman, basically. He will set up the lighting for you and things like that. And also we need editors, and that will be in a perfect world. But the situation that we're in now, Malaysia, is that you have to be one leg kick all, bao ka liao, how can we call it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of, I guess,
crossing of different roles.
Yeah.
In one.
On the one hand, we become very capable personalities, but also on the other hand, you know, there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
For the project.
Yeah.
Okay. So after, you could say, graduating at UTAR.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you then proceed to the next step in getting out there, or getting started even?
My time has changed compared to now. For me, it came out, I was dabbling with some other jobs. I was trying my luck in Singapore, doing some emceeing gigs and things like that, because I was hoping to be able to set a foot in the ILM over there in Singapore while prepping my portfolio and things like that, you see. And then what happened was that it didn't work out well, but I had an offer to work as an editor in Malaysia's MasterChef.
Right.
So I came back to KL and do the editing for that. So then from then on, I realized that I went to other animation companies to be freelancers and do compositing and things like that. From then I realized I need to have a short film. I need to produce one short film. Now, how do we all start up? Because everyone's story is different. Because you meet people in your course, you will engage with people during your internship and things like that. Everyone who I know who are still in the industry, they all start off differently. So there's no specific formula for them to be able to, you know, here's a map and you'll be able to walk through it. So that's the whole thing.
I mean, that's perfectly understandable that, you know, everybody has their own experience, or has their own journey. I guess the question, I'm just trying to dig out what was your specific experience.
In what sense?
In the sense that, okay, you went to Singapore, you attempted to do, you know, you tried to get your foot through the door there, and instead came to MasterChef.
How did I feel about my experience, or how was?
I mean, whatever you're willing to share.
Doing filmmaking is rather an interesting journey, and you have to accept the fact that especially now, the moment you enter this industry, there's a high chance of risk that you might not be as glamorous and wealthy as you think you might be. So there's something that a lot of people come, cultural shock. And the reality is this, I'm not going to scare you guys, but in my whole class of, was it 60 plus of students who were in broadcasting, only a handful of us are remaining in the industry itself. So people know that some ended up doing sales, some ended up doing bankers and things like that. But it was a good experience for them. But for me, it's the drive and the question of why do I want to do this is because I want to tell stories. And despite the fact that sometimes it can be very challenging and it's not so encouraging, I still find the process rather rewarding. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, each person has your own story, so I'm getting you to share what was your story, your journey, your story. So, forward a few years later, and you produced a short film
called The Boy Who Rocked the World.
The Boy Who Rocked the World.
Yeah.
And you received quite a few awards for that.
We won a BMW Shortest, a few awards, but we didn't win the main prize.
Right.
But we managed to get the main prize for back then the Sundance International Film Festival, Sundance Channel.
Okay, so back to The Boy Who Rocked the World.
Yeah.
Perhaps that one will probably get into a few questions about it. One was what was the idea that came about? How did it come about?
I need to make before I talk about the Boy Who Rocked the World, I need to make a little correction. I did not win the Sundance Film Festival main prize, but it was the Astro Sundance award that we won and gave us the chance to go to Sundance Film Festival.
Okay.
So back to your question is how do I get there?
Yeah, where did the idea for that come from first?
One of the most important filmmaking advice I have ever gotten is that tell a story that's personal to you, that it's very important to you. So The Boy Who Rocked the World basically is about this boy who is in a very poor environment where he has a lot of situations surrounding him that is unfavorable to him. So the parents will tend to be misunderstand him, and there'll be bullies around that will make fun of him, things like that. So the only way that he can is to escape through his imagination. I was actually in that position where when I grew up, there was, to a certain extent, there was some sort of coping mechanism that I had to come up with with managing my pain as a child. So I always escaped to imagination and things like that. So I was in that situation. And I remember once or so when my mom was driving us, my brother and I, driving past, and we saw a group of brothers. They were playing guitar in front of the house. So that was a memory that was fondly in my memory. So by using all those fragments of parts of what I was, who I was, what I went through, I used that to write a story and it became what it was, that short film.
Okay, so that's you could say the genesis or the starting points of the idea of the story. Then what about the challenges to then create a visual expression of it?
That's very interesting because to write a story, you have what happens, you just how it goes. But of course, nothing comes everything in one go at the same time. You have struggles. You have a bit of we always call it the writer's block. You will have that in times of writing, and the key sometimes is quite ironic is that sometimes you don't look for it; it comes to you, the solution and the new ideas, things like that. So and also I always consult people who I know and script doctors and things like that. So that would be the process of it. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of you could say getting people involved to refine
for The Boy Who Rocked the World. I did not have that many manpower to do so. The one that currently I'm prepping the one that currently I'm prepping, yes, I have that kind of manpower, because you build your career and your network of people they work with along the way. So yeah, that's a bit of another side of a story that you guys would know the people that you are comfortable working with along the way, and your pool of network people and your cast and crew will actually grow slowly, gradually you will reach there.
So okay, so maybe a side note on networking.
Yeah.
Is it something that you actively seek out and then and slowly talk your way through, or is it something that your work attracts?
That's a very good question. In fact, I would say a bit of all, or what you just mentioned. Of course, if we always, for me, if I consider myself, people say that I'm extrovert, but I actually like to lock myself in a man cave like this, just do my stuff. But I do like to do that. But the thing is, the fact is that once I did The Boy Rock the World, I learned this interesting truth is that no matter how good you are, if you're not out there and people don't know who you are, or you don't even have a marketing or sale or a pitch of who you are, in a way you will have a hard time trying to figure that out, or work or find a place in whatever you do. So in a way, yeah. The other way as well is that I learned the fact that we need to have a bigger pool of friends and network, because it's a lot of factors. Sometimes some people, they can help you in certain period of time, and then sometimes they can't, and you need another new set of people to be able to help you. That's one, and you never know when you need their help. That's one. I'm not saying that you want to make friends just for sake of help, right? But I'm just trying to say that it is a mutual relationship where you help them, they will be able to help you back. And also when you have that kind of achievement, you actually draw people come and to know you and things like that. So it's a bit of all of those aspects that you mentioned just now. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now, following that is one of your other short films, which was about independence.
Yeah.
The Malaysia celebrating Malaysia's independence, and I had a quick look at that, and it's, again, with your skills of visual effects and filmmaking, it's a very interesting approach, or a very interesting way of presenting Malaysian unity through the humble nasi lemak.
Yeah.
Okay, so about a bit. So if you mind telling that story.
This is actually another interesting story. Is that it was 2014. Yeah, I was supposed to get married. So that was that year that a lot of things was very, very interesting. So let's just begin with how I got the idea for the story. I knew that this competition, it was conducted, organized by Celcom, and the main prize was 56,000 ringgit, because 56 years of Malaysian independence then. And then I just want to just give it a try lah. Then okay, so but the key is, like I said, sometimes you don't look for them, but you have to wait for the moment they come to you. Was that I was waiting for that one idea that how do you represent all of Malaysians into one simple format, and the requirement for a competition is less than 3 minutes, man. It's not easy. So I was thinking how. And then that time there was a very notorious case of one of the MPs or ministers. He actually slurred out saying that baliklah pendatang, we don't contribute to the this certain group of people don't contribute to the Malaysian economy and things like that. So I felt like we need to have a statement where everyone was equal, and to say that I was reflecting on economy. Then I was thinking, how can we use a medium to represent us Malaysians at the same time about economy? Now I went back to the simple answer questioning is always about the questioning process. Then I was like, why not? What unites us Malaysians, and what's that one thing that all Malaysians know? Nasi lemak. Right. So that was it. And then I was like, hey, the thing about nasi lemak is that there's that newspaper that we always see, and people will, back then those were the days where newspapers were we used to wrap nasi lemak. Some parts of Malaysia still do that, but now we all just use brown paper. But back then, we use newspapers. So newspaper is a way for us to be able to talk, represents that one thing. So that's how one question led to another, and the idea progression begin from there. So yeah.
All right. So I mean, again, I saw the nasi lemak and I go like, well, this is actually a very strong idea, very well. You could even say humorous idea. It touches many emotional points.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so that was 2014, and what next? What was the next for Paul Gan, and perhaps even what was the future of Paul Gan?
2014 done, and then the thing about that nasi lemak video, we actually won us the second prize, 30,000. So filmmakers, we didn't have much money, so that 30,000 came in time because 1 month, 2 months before I'm supposed to get married, my then girlfriend Joy and I, we only have like 5,000 ringgit in our bank account. So like, oh god, how? So we pray, and once we got the idea, and we won 30,000 ringgit, so we were pretty much ecstatic. And 2014 when I started at home. 2015 I won the Sundance Astro Sundance Award, and I went to Sundance Film Festival. That's when I like, whoa, I was having that eye-opening moment to learn that there's so much more in filmmaking. 2016 I was selected to go for the BFUN Fantastic Film School, where I was taught how we were taught by trainers from Hollywood and from the scriptwriter who wrote the movie Hancock with Will Smith.
Yeah.
He was there, and sort of prep myself mentally, because the fact that I came in from Sundance, actually in a way it helped me, in a way also it sort of like scarred me a little bit, because I realized I have so much more I needed to learn, and I felt like I don't know where I needed to start. Right. So came back having that, and was looking for the right script, the right moment, and things like that. One thing led to another, and time flies without you realizing it. And so this year I'm starting it again, because I've been traveling to different film festivals, trying to understand how the film industry works. It's not the one that we understand here in Malaysia, but the way how film festival works, it actually helps to prepare filmmakers, short filmmakers, to be feature film directors. And there's actually, in a way, a guided path for that. So it was actually very interesting. And now currently for me in the future, it's definitely feature films in the pipeline. But the thing about feature film is that you need people to trust you. It's like, Paul, who are you, man? You don't have a portfolio that, So that's the whole idea, that, okay, I need to have more short films to be so that you can showcase who I am, what do I do, and things like that. So that's the whole idea of it.
Yeah, I was recently at a talk not too long ago, event not too long ago, and it was talking about post-production and visual effects, and they brought in Andrew Mason, who did special effects for The Matrix, and he was a guy who just, I mean, he was relating his story of like 40-50 years worth of work, and it doesn't, he talks about the intensity of it, and then he talks about, there's just so much to learn, and also there's so much to experience in the craft of film.
It is so much more to learn, and for me, I don't know, the only thing that I can find peace now, if you ask me, what would be the only thing that I can, live on this surface of the planet where I'll be satisfied in my life? I think the simplest answer would be just direct as many films that I will find satisfaction in. Yeah.
Is there any part, like in terms of feature film, okay, is there any particular, you could say, genre or format or story that you'll be looking to, work on, or maybe build up to your magnum opus, whatever form it may be?
That's actually a very good question. I actually pondered about that. In fact, it came to a point where I don't really care to answer that question to a certain extent. I mean, when I ask myself that question, it's not when people ask me that, because I realized that at the end of the day, what matters to me is the story. Maybe an action film, maybe a drama, a comedy, or what. Whatever genre that suits the story best, I will execute it. But nonetheless, there's only one genre that I don't know whether I will bring into, which is horror. I don't know if it will be me doing that, because I don't think I have. Horror is actually a very unique genre where you need to have a special set of skills, where in terms of lighting, terms of direction, in terms of how you're going to scare people and leave that information. I find that I might not be able to handle horror film just yet. So that's my take on.
And is that building yourself? I mean, building Paul Gan, the personal brand of the versatile filmmaker producer, or is he someone who is very skilled to say, okay, I can do this. I've got this portfolio of specific, you could say, type.
In all honesty, I don't know how to answer that question right now because
but maybe it doesn't matter,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, because to some point they know what kind of flavor that you can give as a filmmaker. For example, I like this director. I always forget his name. Remind me, you just Google. He's the one who directed Sicario.
Oh, Sicario.
Sicario, yeah. Dennis cast and crew. I always can't mention his name for some weird reason.
Sicario, the CIA action film, right?
Yeah, yes. Dennis Villeneuve. Villeneuve. I always call him Villeneuve or something like that. That's why it's Valis Villeneuve. So his work from Prisoners, from Arrival, from Sicario, you can actually tell there's a lot of distinctive difference in genre. One is suspense, but he has that sense of element of this for you to really take your time to ponder about the frames that he's going to give it to you. And even for Nolan as well, he directs different genres. You see, the latest one that we at current moment is Dunkirk, right? It's a war film. But before that, he has been doing other stuff. But although the connecting point that he does is actually action films, but he has different sense and different touch when the filmmaker comes in and paints his canvas. So so people will remember you, the flavor that you give, I would say, in that way. If that answers your questions.
No, I mean, it answers my question. I give the question. It's just how you answer it's the story that, again, the story that you share.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine with that. Okay. So we've covered, the beginnings, the learnings, the skill, the breaking out and going to the future. So I guess the question then is that in terms of maybe networking or maybe where you've been, where you've come from. So where do you see yourself perhaps, like, are you going to take on a more specific role now that you're slowly building up yourself to say, okay, the producer, or you're going to be more hands-on, like so there's the flavor which you just mentioned, and then and to other artists it's like, for musicians it's the sound, for architects it's the design, the certain design trademark. So what could be yours if you figure it out yet?
Directing definitely be one of it, and the other one is actually I'm actually looking for, or maybe grabbing opportunities for me to hit back into acting as well.
Right.
So it's acting and directing, but the thing is that people remember me for directing and visual effects editing. That was quite odd, but yeah. So I'm trying to break that stereotypes because I wasn't really confident with me directing myself at first, but now I realized that I had to take that risk for me to be able to do what's necessary for me to build that like you say, that flavor or image or that brand that is what I'm thinking or aspire to be.
I mean, it could be just I mean, for some people like Jodorowsky, he's always the guy with the wild idea, the French director. He's the guy with the wild idea to make the film. Whereas Clint Eastwood, he's both in front and behind the camera. That type of film. All right.
And he started in front of camera first, then later on he went behind. So it's quite interesting because you never know. Again, it's a progression of the career and how we work on it now. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we've covered the whole, more or less, big spectrum of your journey. So if you don't mind, this is the part where it's towards the closing of the show. Is the 3 questions I've got, which I always ask in every episode of this podcast.
Sure.
The first one being, for those who have the idea of getting into creative work, or in your case, film, be it production, camera, and such. So, what advice might you have for those people?
Don't come into this industry. You screw your life up. No, just kidding. Do know what you're getting into. Because do know what you want in your life. It wouldn't be a smooth sailing journey. You have to be able to create something that is yours, and people will remember who you are. So it takes a lot of great tenacity and determination to be able to not just remain in the industry, but to succeed in this. So that would be my advice. So if you're hoping for a quick success, you're hoping for a quick glam road to fame, I wouldn't say 99% of the case is the other side of the story.
Okay.
I hope I didn't give you guys a bleak future, right?
No, I mean, part of what I do for plusma-cast is not just about the sharing of the story, but if the sharing of the story includes a bit of detail to say this is the reality you should understand.
Yeah. Which is actually rather essential. Yeah.
Okay. So for those who, I just covered for those with the idea, for those then taking from idea into gaining the skills, what advice might you have for them?
Start doing. Don't wait. We have a lot of resources online. You can Google and learn how to operate your cameras and things like that. It's already available there. The problem is sometimes we are so spoiled with options that we are also spoiled with options of finding excuses. If that makes sense, is that okay, I don't have this, I don't have that. Actually, not necessarily. Even now, this interview we're shooting with a phone, we have all the technology needed for us to be able to produce a short film. At the end of the day, it's your will and how far you want to push. So create something that is monumental. So that will be my take for it. Yeah.
So I guess again, just to reiterate, we've got all these tools now.
Yeah.
It's just what is your action?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And the last one is from idea to skills now to starting out. What advice might you have for those? Now that you've got your skills, okay, now how do I make something that will...
My advice would be for that is that even though you might think that you're an introvert, but challenge yourself out of the comfort zone to meet new people, to make connections. Like what you're doing now is actually very good. It allows people to be able to learn something. And I'm sure it initially takes much of your comfort zone out, because who is this person you're going to talk to, and like, what the heck, man.
I used to be in architecture, and we just stare at screens for the most part.
So architects, they just draw the lines, and that's your bottom line, guys. But so it's good that what you're doing, like what Paul is doing, basically always find and connect with new people. Throw yourself out there. That would be the word that I would say, because if you're hiding in this room like this, no one's gonna knock on your door and ask, hey, do you happen to be a filmmaker, or do you happen to be doing video production? Do you happen to be doing any commercials or things like that? So we have to make that step out. We have to be rather proactive about it.
All right. Okay. And the last bit is giving it to you, whether you have any advice, last words, or even shameless plug that you'd like to put out there.
I was thinking, should I be like, give you a movie quote or something to make me sound like, this guy knows.
Hey, it's up to you. It's the last word.
But at the end of the day, it's just don't give up. It's just the 3 words. A dream will always be a dream when we don't do anything about it. So just don't give up. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So, I guess I'll do a bit of the closing then.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you've been watching an episode of plusma-cast. This is my friend and guest, Paul Gan. He's a filmmaker. And if you want to follow his work, you can find his Facebook at Paul Gan
You can just Paul Gan Film.
Paul Gan Film,
Paul Gan Film.
and also his Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you can check the end slide for the details, or you can look into the description. And if you'd like to know more or get in touch or see his work, it's there. So thank you very much. This has been another episode. And with that, thank you very much.
Ciao. Okay.